So I've spent this past month getting to know Samsung's Galaxy S26 Ultra, one of the most ludicrously expensive blowers outside of those foldable jobbies. And it starts from almost £1,300, rising to 1450 GBPs if you want 512 gigs of storage, or 1,700 quid if you fancy yourself the top end model. I mean, seriously, I spent less money than that on my first car. And it was a second-hand 1 litre Corsa, approximately the same colour as Catsick, but still. So is the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra actually worth that exuberant pile of cash? Well, here's my full review, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe, ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So first up, Samsung hasn't exactly switched up the design much for this generation. It's slightly more rounded, the corner areas now, but it's still a proper palm stretcher. And it is a flea's foreskin thinner and lighter than the last generation, but we're still talking 214 grams and almost 8mm thick, so it's a proper full-on slab still. And to be honest, I'm surprised this thing's not completely knackered, because I've already lost count of the number of times I've dropped this thing onto a hard floor or table or desk or whatever. And that is partially because I like the occasional shandy or two. I'm not completely blameless in this situation. But it's also because the Galaxy S26 Ultra is a slippery, heavy bastard. But thankfully also appears to be tougher than Jason Statham wearing a concrete codpiece. That frame is merely constructed of armour aluminium now. Gone is that super tough titanium finish, while the front and back end are coated in Gorilla Glass. Bit of Victus 2 for the arse end and Armour 2 for the display. But apart from this tiny wee bit here, just on the frame above the screen where a little bit of the paint is just scraped away, the rest of the phone's still in perfect nick. That armour aluminium certainly holding up surprisingly well. And that matte finish means that the Galaxy S26 Ultra doesn't get too mucky either. The worst of it is just bits of dust and cack that get sort of lodged in between the camera lenses as usual. As for the whole camera arrangement, it's actually pretty subtle as far as an Ultra branded smartphone is concerned. I mean, just compare that with the absolute whopper that is the Vivo X300 Ultra. It's not really a camera bump, it's more of a camera tumour. Although I've got to say, the Galaxy S26 Ultra could probably actually do with having a proper camera bump, because it's so big and heavy and slippery and cumbersome to clutch. You could really use a proper finger shelf. This thing here just doesn't really work. And it also means this is one of the jiggliest smartphones I've ever encountered. I do really like Samsung's choice of colours for this generation though. This is the Hero Cobalt Violet, which is rather fetching. A sky blue model, proper bloody lush as well. Now, the Galaxy S26 Ultra sports an in-display ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, which is pretty decent. It's only really failed on me when my hands have been proper moist. Normally quite responsive, so yeah, no issues with that. And then of course on the software side, bugger all surprises there. It's the latest OneUI slapped on top of the latest Android, with a reassuringly long amount of software support pledged by Samsung, 7 full years of OS updates and security patching. A fun fact, in 7 years' time, your Uncle Spurt is going to be in his 50s and likely 100% pickled. As far as the software goes, well, OneUI has improved slightly over previous generations, but it's still very much what you've come to expect. So an awful lot of Samsung duplicating stuff that Android already does. So you've got a couple of calendars, a couple of wallets, couple app stores, yada yada yada. And of course Samsung, as ever, is balls deep in that AI. And most of it is just fluff. Occasionally some of it is helpful, like the audio eraser, which can now dampen down any background arse-clenching rage of angry Geordies as they fall to another crushing defeat from the mighty Macams. Well, frankly, I could listen to their anguished squeals for days. And there's also the fresh new Now Nudge feature, which is similar to Magic Q on the Pixel 10 series. The idea being that it pays attention to what you're up to and then nudges useful information onto the screen when needed. So for instance, if Doreen at the Clap Clinic messages to say, can we shift your appointment to 6 PM on Tuesday? Just check to make sure your diary is completely clear for then, but unfortunately I've never actually seen it be much help at all the entire time I've been using this bloody thing. I've even stuck with a god-awful Samsung keyboard this past month because you have to use that for Now Nudge to actually work. I'll tell you what, it just has not been worth it at all. And some of the other features have been working perfectly well, like the notification summarization, which gives you a brief summary of any lengthy WhatsApp conversations you may have missed, so you know if anything urgent or timely has cropped up while you've been away from your phone. But the best new feature by far, certainly call screening, just like on Google's Pixel blowers, which demands that any mystery callers reveal their identity and plead their case as to why you should actually pick up and speak with them. Anyway, I've banged on a great length about all my favourite OneUI features in the Galaxy S26 series in my full tips and tricks guide, which is live right now. So I won't wibble on about it all in this video as well, just go check that out if you want to know more. And of course, as always, one of the more unique features of the S26 Ultra is that S Pen stylus secreted away in the corner. As always, this is really handy if you do find yourself annotating documents, scribbling little notes, signing documents as well, very helpful for that, or simply sketching and doodling in your idle time. But of course, after using OPPO's Find N6 foldable phone with its Bluetooth enabled stylus, I suddenly realised just how much I missed that old quality bit of S Pen action where it could actually wirelessly connect to the phone. You could use it as a remote shutter for the camera. There's little bits of functionality like that which made it more fun, more versatile and everything, and yeah, it is a shame that that has been scrapped, and hopefully it will come back in a future generation. But gotta say though, the Galaxy S26 Ultra, an absolute media superstar courtesy of that 6.9-inch dynamic AMOLED display. You do have a slightly enlarged selfie camera for this generation versus the old S25 Ultra, but it's only grown a tiny amount, nowhere near a whopping great iPhone floating turd notch, that's for sure. Maxes out at Quad HD plus resolution. You got the likes of the Pro Scaler, which can make videos and photos look crisper, basically upscaling Full HD visuals to make the most of that display. Colors are punchy and vivid, and you got full HDR10 Plus streaming support, although no Dolby Vision action like you do get with some Chinese rivals. And speaking of those Chinese rivals, they also tend to be better when it comes to the PWM dimming as well. It's basic at best here on the S26 Ultra, so if you are quite sensitive to OLED flicker, you might want to look elsewhere. But the big hardware upgrade for the Galaxy S26 Ultra is certainly that privacy display. And this is actually a hardware feature which can deactivate certain pixels to greatly narrow the field of view. So as you can see, if you're not looking head on at that display, it does quickly fade out and then turn to black. And you can chuck this on at any point, quickly and easily just drag down the control center bit basically and tap privacy display and it's immediately on. You can also have this automatically switch on when you have to enter a PIN or a password, which I was kind of hoping would also support third-party apps, the likes of banking apps, for instance. Unfortunately, right now, only supported in OneUI when you have to enter your PIN at the lock screen or for the likes of the secure folder. Hopefully, that is a feature that will be expanded on and implemented in the likes of third-party apps. And of course, this past month, there's also been a lot of reports of people complaining online that they've been suffering from migraines, headaches, that kind of thing when using the privacy display. Now, personally, got to say, I haven't suffered from any issues myself. I even actually switch on the privacy display for the best part of a day and left it on just to see if it would give me a full-on throbber. And by full-on throbber, I do mean a headache, not a pants thing. But no problems whatsoever, just the usual horrific hangover, that was it. I'd certainly only recommend activating the privacy display when you absolutely need to though, because it does reduce the overall resolution, it impacts the colours and the contrast goes to bollocks as well. It does kind of feel like you're staring at the screen through sunglasses when this is switched on. So yeah, I personally only turn it on when I need to do PIN, password stuff, or something that I really don't want the granny sat next to me on the bus seeing. Now, as for the Galaxy S26 Ultra's stereo speakers, well, they are proper loud, but they also spaff out some excellent sound. Bassy as hell for mobile blasters, but without balking the audio when you do boost that volume up. And gotta say, the Bluetooth streaming has been absolutely flawless for me this past month as well, especially impressive when you're hooked up to those Galaxy Buds 4 Pro with a 24-bit 96 kHz streaming using Sammy's own SSC codec. Really rich, vibrant sound. Great stuff indeed. So I highly recommend, if you've got any money left after spunking out well over £1,000 on this bastard, chucking another couple £100 at them for those. If you're lucky, you might get it in some sort of bundle deal thing. And as for the performance, well, thank the baby Jesus that the Galaxy S26 Ultra is powered by Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy. Possibly the clunkiest chipset name of all times, but certainly an upgrade over that Exynos 2600 bollocks. You got a choice of 12 or 16 gigs of RAM here on the S26 Ultra. Mine is just the 12 giga. That's been absolutely perfect, again, for everyday running. Beautifully smooth, even with lots of apps on the go at once, and gaming is a breeze too. So I knocked up to the top graphics settings in Wuthering Waves and didn't notice a single flicker in the frame rate, and that is even after well over an hour of gaming non-stop. Well, thanks to that excellent Snapdragon and also Samsung's upgraded coolant setup, which includes an even bigger vapor chamber. The OneUI gaming mode is a wee bit basic compared with what you'll see in ColorOS, etc., but it's got all the main bits. And if you can be bothered, you can also customize the gaming mode so you're not disturbed partway through your Wuthering Waves session. Bugger all upgrades when it comes to the battery tech for this generation. Once again, a 5000 mAh cell, which does seem somewhat piddly compared with a lot of other Ultra phones, most of which have now far exceeded 6000 mAh. But what I found has made the biggest difference here on the Galaxy S26 Ultra is the choice of chipset, because the Exynos 2600 stuffed inside of the S26 and the S26 Plus really balked the battery life, whereas here on the Snapdragon powered S26 Ultra, it's been miles bloody better. That S26 Plus practically the same battery capacity as this thing, but every single day I used that thing I was balls deep in power saver mode by the end of the day, sometimes literally just tiny little dregs remaining. Whereas with similar usage here on the S26 Ultra, typically ended most of those days with around 30% battery life remaining, and that is with the always on display switched on, scheduled for most of the day, Quad HD plus resolution active. In fact, on my most intensive day with the S26 Ultra this past month, I think I clocked in at around 8 hours screen on time, plus plenty of background use with the likes of Spotify. I did all my daily shenanigans on Wuthering Waves. I must have spent about an hour video and voice chatting on WhatsApp, plenty of telly streaming and the rest, and I finished with just under 10% battery life remaining when I finally got all tucked up with Teddy. If you were to just video chat online non-stop, you can expect around 8 to 9 hours of action on a full charge. Well, the gaming efficiency seems to have actually improved a wee bit since the last update. And I'll get just under 4 hours of Wuthering Waves action, which is considerably more than the 3 hours I managed with the S26 Plus. It's about average, maybe a wee bit under, for a wallet-smashing flagship phone like this. It's pretty good, if not quite as impressive as some big battery bastards like the OPPO Find X9 Pro. The Samsung has upgraded the wired charging speed. It's now super fast charging 3.0 or whatever, so 60 watt charging support. That is a tasty wee upgrade, and of course because it's smaller capacity it makes an even greater difference than what you would see on other bigger capacity smartphones, so you'll get around a 75% charge just half an hour at the plug. However, while Qi 2 is now supported technically by the Galaxy S26 Ultra, there's still no built-in magnet there, so you'll have to slap on a compatible case to get the whole magnetic charging on the go. And again, the internet has been awash with angry people saying they can't quite manage to get the best charging speeds when they slap a case on there, all kinds of shenanigans. There's just another area where the Galaxy S26 Ultra doesn't feel quite as ultra as it perhaps should have been. And now, my lovelies, let's finish up this lovely wee Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra review by having a good long squint at the camera tech. And the main shooter uses the same 200 meg sensor as the old S25 Ultra, but you've now got a larger f1.4 aperture to suck in more light. And accompanying that, you've got the same basic 10 megapixel telephoto shooter with 3x optical zoom, plus a 50 megapixel periscope shooter using 5x optical zoom. Not forgetting, of course, the 50 megapixel ultra-wide angle snapper. And Samsung hasn't really mixed things up when it comes to the camera app, so once again you can pull out most of your main toggles and features just with a quick tap here, including timers. You can change up the aspect ratio and the resolution all the way to 200 meg with that main shooter, only recommended if the lighting is perfect. Piddle about with the contrast, etc., although of course you do, as always, have a dedicated pro mode. Good bit of histogram action, and of course you can mess around with all the usual camera settings. And yes, you've got the usual expert RAW mode as well if you want to shoot in RAW as well as JPEG. Do a bit of editing on the fly. I just stuck with the auto mode like most people are likely to do, and I've noticed that night snaps have improved a significant amount compared with the previous Ultra. Get a lot less noise these days, especially with high contrast situations. You can still expect the S26 Ultra to pump out quite finely detailed pictures with reasonably rich tones. Now, using those telephoto shooters, you can get some pretty great close-up portraits of friends, fam, and fuzzy wee buggers, and that zoom in's pretty decent for night shots despite the significantly smaller sensors. However, gotta say, compared with alternative Ultra phones from the likes of Vivo, detail levels aren't as strong, especially when you really start cropping in. And sadly, as with the rest of the S26 series, the Ultra simply isn't quite as good at handling motion. So if your fluffy pal or your sprog suddenly decides to move as you hit the shutter button, you'll quite often end up with a blurry snap, even if the lighting is perfect. And it's most likely down to the wider aperture, unfortunately, and sometimes it works fine, and quite a lot of the time it doesn't. And yes, that ultra-wide shooter is there if you need it, although compared with the other sensors, this does struggle in softer light, as best avoided at nighttime. Around the front end, you've got a 12 megapixel selfie shooter again, but now with a slightly wider point of view. And this can cope with strong backlighting better than ever, but shadows are once again lightened, which knackers the contrast. You've got to keep your hand fairly steady as well, so it's not great for drunken pics. And for all of your home movie type shenanigans, where you can, as always, bump up that resolution to 8K, 30 frames per second, although this does take the basic 10 megapixel 3x optical zoom sensor out. We've still got the 5x zoom if you want it, and the ultra wide as well. Otherwise, you can shoot Ultra HD 4K video at 30 or 60 frames per second with a good bit of HDR switched on. And I've certainly found that the S26 Ultra is ideal for action cam moments thanks to its ridiculously slick horizontal lock feature. Certainly some of the best stabilization I've seen on any smartphone. That's great for all the rest of your home movie shenanigans as well, and at night time, the S26 Ultra's video boost feature kicks in automatically, processing that footage to make it brighter and sharper. So certainly if you do shoot a lot of video, it is an impressive wee bugger. And if you count yourself as a bit of a pro, well, there is a dedicated pro mode as well, where once again you can mess around with all those camera settings. You can also shoot in log format, and there's also support for APV. And that, my lovelies, in a delicious wee nutshell, is what I reckon of the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra. I gotta say, I rather like it. You know, it ticks most of those requisite boxes to make my naughty bits suitably pointy. You got banging performance, you got dependable battery life, you got generally capable camera tech, if not quite as impressive as some other Ultra smartphones from the likes of Vivo and potentially soon OPPO as well. And you know, you got a number of key hardware and software upgrades in there, including the excellent privacy display, which just needs a bit more support so it can automatically activate for the likes of third-party apps. But yeah, unfortunately, it all comes down to that slightly terrifying price tag and the fact that for less money, you can grab something like the OPPO Find X9 Pro, for instance, which boasts a bigger battery, you've got better camera tech, and overall, at least in my opinion, slightly cleaner software as well. And then of course you've got the Ultra model just lingering on the horizon there. And of course, don't forget the Vivo X300 Ultra as well, which I just grabbed last week, hoping to do a full review on that later this week. But yeah, that's still the China-only model, hopefully going global at some point soon. So I would say the S26 Ultra, you know, worth a squint if you see it at a heavy discount, but certainly at this sort of price, there are better options available. Well, that's what this weathered old worn down tech YouTube bugger reckons anyway. It'd be great to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Let us know what you think of the Galaxy S26 Ultra. Certainly if you've been using it yourself these past few weeks, what your experiences have been so far. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a ruddy, wonderful rest of the week. Cheers everybody, love you!